Before you ask, yes, there's a scene after the credits. This is a Marvel movie. That's almost a given at this point. However, I get the feeling that this film was trying to meet some sort of quirkiness quota set forth by either Marvel or Disney. So really, all that's missing is a tie-in video game made by Suda51. James Gunn's the director, and he did work with Lollipop Chainsaw, which was produced by Suda51. That's the joke. Also, insert any Firefly, Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop, Space Dandy, One Piece, Red Dwarf, Star Wars, Abrams, Star Trek, and or Dancing CGI Baby from Ally McBeal jokes here. It's a Marvel movie. My expectations were pretty high going in. I mean, it's been a while since we've had a nice, fun space adventure that wasn't trying to uphold some sort of legacy. That said, the beginning of this film suffers from a very serious case of tonal whiplash. I mean, we literally see Peter Quill experiencing the very tragic death of his mother in a very sad scene, only to have said scene end with him being abducted by aliens out of the blue. I mean, I understand you're trying to kind of deliver backstory about Peter Quill, but really, having a dramatic scene like that is probably not the best way to introduce us to our main character and really set the proper tone for a film that's supposed to be a fun, exciting space adventure. Once the story gets going, it's actually pretty easy to get into. However, there are a few points where the story does drag a little bit, and it was during those lulls that I noticed a lot of the formulaic beats the story was using. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing because for the most part, the film uses the tropes it's using properly. However, there were some times where certain actions, certain lines of dialogue, and just certain parts of the story felt a little bit forced. Felt like they were either trying to give an obligatory moment to explain the tragic backstory of certain characters, or they had to have a certain character do a certain thing in order to get the plot moved forward, or in the most extreme cases, it was just an excuse to do the name dropping and hints that the Marvel movies have kind of become known for during much of Phase 2 thus far. The only difference is that, unlike, say, The Winter Soldier, the name drops and hints we're given in this film are pretty much on the very fringe of an average viewer's understanding of the Marvel Universe at large. And so a lot of it's probably going to fly a lot over their heads, making the name drops and everything just feel like needless tidbits of information that were just shoved into the script for no real reason. Another issue I kind of had with the film is that the space battles, namely the big climactic, big armada battle at the very end of the film, well, it was a bit of a visual mess. Seeing all the ships, all the explosions, all the bright colors kind of clashing and like going all over the screen, it was kind of hard to look at for any longer period of time. And I mean, I was looking at this on like an IMAX 3D screen, and so it was actually a lot worse. It made it a lot harder to really follow what was going on. Thankfully, it doesn't dwell on those shots for too long, but it was something I noticed, because yeah, it's like bright and vibrant, but it's a lot like a, well, not necessarily like a Jackson Pollock painting, but it's basically a lot like someone just decided to copy a Jackson Pollock painting and just threw a bunch of random colors with no rhyme or reason on a canvas. Now, I don't know anything about Jackson Pollock, people may correct me, but it basically looked in the sense that there were so many bright colors that they all just kind of blended together. Again, not as bad because they don't dwell on those kind of shots for like really too long, but it was a bit of a problem, especially when you're watching it on such a large screen. Other than that, I don't really have that much to say about this film. I mean, it's well acted, and for the most part, it is well written. And the biggest thing I liked is that it's mostly self-contained, so really, it just delivers exactly what we've all come to expect from a Marvel Studios film. Despite its flaws, it's an absolute blast to watch, and is probably the most accessible film of Phase 2, since it doesn't try to drive any major connections to either events of Phase 1 or any of the other films going on in Phase 2. And really, if you take away the fact that it's a Marvel movie, you basically just have an action-packed and just absolutely fun space adventure with a well-written cast of likable characters that carry us through the story. So really, what more can I say? It's a good film. That said, if you're going to see this in theaters, see it in 2D. Now, I know a lot of people think, oh yeah, Romney, you're just being the cheapskate, but really, the 3D didn't add anything to the film, like, at all. It's just a case of you can tell that they didn't really shoot this film with 3D in mind. And that's really the big difference. So really, since 3D didn't really seem to be a factor in them planning out how the shots were going to work in this film, you don't really need to see it in 3D. So save the money that would have gone into the 3D surcharge, buy yourself some snacks or something. I mean, do what a lot of other people do, just buy it from a convenience store nearby and sneak it into the theater. I mean, we've all done it. And don't even say that you haven't done it, because we have all done it at some point. Anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy gets a 4 out of 5. So that's it for this episode of Romney's Reviews. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.